This is an Andy's Randomness special report. This is an Andy's Randomness special report. Reporting now, Andy Pollock.
Good morning, everyone. Andy Pollock here, live from the Random Studio in Fresh Meadows, New York. Once again, welcome to the daily New York State officials COVID-19 briefing stream. Stream for April 15th, 2020. Since it is the original tax day, even though it's been extended to July this year for the current circumstances. There is a website where you can track your stimulus check. I don't know what the website it is at the moment, but I heard it's supposed to be online sometime today, or already did go online. So that's good news at least. But the main thing is, again, I know today's tax day. You don't have to worry about the IRS coming after you tomorrow because the deadline was extended until July 15th this year. So if you want to be a slacker about it, then it doesn't matter. But just wanted to get that out there today since it is April 15th. Right now, we don't have any confirmation when Governor Cuomo will be speaking today, but we are on standby for that. So my plan to you right now is to carry a pre-recorded tape from Mayor Bill de Blasio's briefing this morning. So we are going to join with that tape. Let's see if I can get the tape to load. Okay, it looks like I'm going to be able to get the tape to load. Now again, we're not going to cover Q&A. We don't do that on these spots. But we are going to join the MTA, believe it or not, at 12:30. If for any reason Nassau County Executive Laura Curran is in fact speaking today from Mineola, we will break away from the MTA. We'll rewind it. We'll go on tape delay if we have to, and we'll join the MTA. We'll go to their press conference. Now, yesterday they made an announcement that they're going to be giving a compensation to MTA workers' families who were impacted. Of course, a family member may have passed away from COVID, of course. So, yeah. And sadly, I'll have to report, I won't say who, but in my personal life, family friend, sibling passed from COVID. So, it's been a rough couple hours trying to understand that this is the new reality. Well, I guess since most of us are in sync to our in-home routines, I guess. And I also mentioned that a friend's relative is hospitalized with COVID symptoms. So trust me, it's rough out there. It's really rough out there. I'll just mention how the virus is personally impacting me. So I'm assuming Joy Jung is here. If he wants to comment, he's more than welcome to. But in all reality, we are going to play the tape from Mayor Bill de Blasio. I'm just refreshing the governor's website to see if there is a live feed. You know what I can do? I can check the governor's Twitter feed. Let me go on TweetDeck. Yeah, because I was supposed to load TweetDeck. See if I can load it up. I heard it's supposed to be faster than Twitter. Yeah, there we go. Okay, figure, because I know this was supposed to be easier to use. My Governor Cuomo. Tweets. Okay, folks, we have an update. So this is odd. It says, and I quote, from at NY Governor Cuomo, I will be giving my daily coronavirus briefing at 12:30. Okay, so I guess what we'll do in the meantime is show you Bill de Blasio's briefing from earlier this morning. So can we get the tape? Looks like we're going to be able to. Let's see. Display capture. Okay, looks like the tape is loading. So let's watch Bill de Blasio from earlier this morning.
Morning, everybody. This time we're living in is causing us to experience so many challenges, so many painful realities, things we never could have imagined. There is such uncertainty, there's such confusion, there's such a sense of insecurity. I want all New Yorkers to understand what all of us here in the city government are devoted to doing in this crisis for you, and it's really basic. Our mission is to make sure we protect your health. Our mission is to keep you safe. Our mission is to make sure you have a roof over your head and that your home is safe and secure. Our mission is to make sure you have enough food to eat. And that's what I want to focus on today, that last point, because what is more fundamental than being able to put food on the table for your family? And for hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers, that is now a question. That is not a certainty. And that's because somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000 New Yorkers have lost their livelihood in just the last few weeks. And money's running out. Whatever savings people have is running low. A lot of people already have run out of money. And yes, there's some help that's coming in. And we all appreciate that for sure, but we all know it's not enough to sustain people. So for more and more New Yorkers, we're hearing this all the time, people are literally asking, where's my next meal coming from? That's something painful to consider in the greatest city in the world, but it's what's happening. More and more people are experiencing that kind of insecurity. That's one of the most basic, and particularly for families, parents worrying about how they're going to feed their children. That's a reality that's now gotten sharper and sharper. So I want to affirm to everyone out there who is feeling that fear, to everyone who's dealing with this problem, even if they couldn't have imagined just weeks ago they'd be dealing with it, here is the simple mission of your city government, and I pledged you, I'm very confident in making this pledge, we will not allow any New Yorker to go hungry. This is not only a mission we are devoted to because it is the right thing to do, it is the moral thing to do, we must do it. And we must do it as your city government, we must do it working with all those at the community level who for years and years have helped to make sure that people are fed, the food banks, the soup kitchens, the houses of worship, the nonprofit organizations. So many people have been devoted to making sure that New Yorkers had enough to eat. We're going to need them more than ever. We're going to help them more than ever. But the city government's going to take the lead because we will not allow anyone to go hungry. Now, yesterday I was out in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. And I saw something moving and remarkable, but also it was a warning sign. I was with the wonderful people who are part of the Campaign Against Hunger. It's an organization that's been around for decades, started at the grassroots to feed people, help people. I want to thank Dr. Melanie Samuels and her whole team. Devoted people from the community who keep coming out, and they know that they're taking a risk doing it, but they keep coming out with the proper protection on to feed the residents of their community who need help. Melanie told me that even just a few weeks ago, typically 250 families per day would come to their food pantry to get help. She said now it's more like 500 families a day, doubled in just a few weeks. And this is just the beginning, because when we look at this coronavirus crisis, we understand we're trying to make sense of something brand new, a disease that didn't even exist for human beings 6 months ago. But we're also trying to understand the huge negative impact it's had on the rest of our lives. And we know when it comes to something like unemployment, the effects get felt more deeply week after week. It doesn't all happen at once. It actually gets tougher as we go along. So I think what's coming up is going to be even more of a challenge, and that's why we're preparing right now to feed everyone. And as you hear this presentation from me today and from our new food czar, Catherine Garcia, I hope everyone listening will understand, literally, we will not let anyone go hungry. And if anybody in your life needs food, we will get it to them. We have to make sure that word is spread. We have to make sure that no one thinks they're alone. We will not let anyone go without food. We need to make sure everyone gets that message. Now, I was in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, but this challenge is literally in every neighborhood. Because if you have no money, how do you get food? And we know that the massive unemployment that we're experiencing is literally every zip code, every part of the city. So whoever you are, wherever you are, if you need food, we're here for you. And there should be no shame. I want to emphasize this. There's no one's fault that we're dealing with this horrible crisis. Anyone needs food, we're here for you. You don't have to think twice. Of course it's for free. Just pick up the phone or go online. And if you need information, you can go to nyc.gov/getfood. You can call 311. You can find all the places, all the ways we'll get you food. Please do not hesitate and spread the word to everyone you know. Now, this is an unprecedented moment. This is something beyond even our imagination in some ways, but we have to fight back. That's what New Yorkers do. We're going to find a way. Yesterday, I talked about the amazing work that's being done right here in our own city to do what our nation's not been able to do, to create our own test kits, to create our own PPEs. That's the New York City way. If no one else is finding a way, we'll find a way ourselves. We'll take care of ourselves. We'll support each other. Well, this is the same idea. We are dealing with an unprecedented challenge in terms of people needing food, so we're going to create an unprecedented response. Today, I'm announcing a $170 million initiative to make sure every New Yorker gets what they need and no New Yorker goes hungry. Now, thank God we have a strong foundation to build on. All those food pantries and soup kitchens, all the amazing organizations out there that have been doing work all over the city for years and years. Meals on Wheels, all the things that we know that are part of the compassionate approach that we take as New Yorkers to those in need. We'll be building on all of that, and we will be adding many new components because the situation we're in now calls for a whole different strategy and approach, and one that will grow with every passing week. So, let's talk about the sheer scale. Before this crisis, before we ever heard of coronavirus, there were about 1.2 million New Yorkers who were food insecure, who didn't regularly have the ability to get all the food they needed. And that very, very painfully included about 1 in every 5 children in this city. This crisis is now adding to that number of people who are food insecure every day, because literally people are running out of money every single day. So we expect it to grow. And yeah, there is some relief coming, and we're happy for sure to see the relief that's coming from the stimulus, from the unemployment benefits. This is all very, very important. But we know not everyone's going to get that money right away. We know there's a lot of red tape that some people have to navigate. We know there'll be time lags. We know some people don't qualify. And whether that's fair or not, we know there are lots of people in the city who will never get that kind of support. And I would say it's not fair, but it's the reality. So we know that the food crisis will grow. And that's why we had to do something different. So I'm going to talk to you about 4 things that will be the essence of how we go about this new strategy. And then you'll hear from our food czar, who will go over more of the details. So first, this has to be done on a grand scale, a really massive scale, to reach everyone who needs it and even more people up ahead. Since March 16th, when we really got in the thick of this crisis, there have been 4.5 million meals served to New Yorkers through all of these approaches we're now taking, and that's just a beginning. We're scaling this up very fast. You know, we've talked about the operation through our school sites. We've talked about what our senior centers are doing, so the Department of Education, Department for the Aging. We've talked about the operation that's been set up through emergency management led by our food czar. All of these efforts together during the month of April will account for 10 million meals being provided to New Yorkers who need them, all for free. Now, I don't like having to tell you that number because it says how big the problem is, but it also says how big our response is. That's April. We're ready to do even more in May. So the second piece of the equation is making sure that as we're providing food, we're also putting people to work because so many people need a paycheck. So many people want to help. So 3 weeks ago, we launched emergency deliveries. And this means getting food to people who can't get out, who literally can't get out physically. Maybe they're disabled, or seniors who can't get out and get food and don't have anyone to get it for them. Folks who are scared to go out because they have one of those pre-existing conditions or they're immunocompromised. A lot of our residents in public housing, a lot of people who, if they don't get a delivery, it's not clear if they're going to get food. What we've done is we've reached out to drivers in the for-hire vehicle industry, so many of whom have seen their livelihoods upended by this crisis. We've now registered 11,000 drivers who are TLC licensed, Taxi and Limousine Commission licensed. And they are all taking on shifts to deliver food directly to people in the greatest need who can't get out of their house, who need that delivery right to their door. These drivers are doing that, helping us feed people. They're being paid by the shift, so they're getting money back in their pockets to feed their families in turn. This is something that's going to have a huge positive effect on the people doing the work, but even more, they're doing something absolutely crucial to help the most vulnerable amongst us. Third point, we have to make sure, knowing that, as I said, in April, we think we will have served 10 million meals by the end of April. That's going to go up in May. It's easily going to be somewhere between 10 million and 15 million meals in May at the rate we're going. We have to make sure there's enough food to ensure we can make those deliveries, keep our food supply strong and stable. Even a small disruption in the food supply would have a huge negative effect on New Yorkers. We won't let that happen. So in our $170 million plan is a $50 million investment in an emergency food reserve for New York City. This will allow us to purchase and store 18 million shelf-stable meals. This means we'll have a fail-safe. We'll have a reserve that's just for New York City to protect us no matter what else happens. 18 million meals ready at all times. Keeping that in reserve while continuing all our regular programs to feed New Yorkers. But it's important to have that backstop so we can keep everyone safe. And then fourth, protecting the people who we depend on for so many other millions of New Yorkers to get their food. That's our grocery store workers, our supermarket workers. I want to just say thank you to them first. You know, they are among the groups of unsung heroes in this fight. We talk, and we rightfully talk, about the heroism of our healthcare workers, our first responders. They've been absolutely amazing, battling through this crisis, keeping the health system going, keeping us safe. But let's give a lot of appreciation, a lot of respect to the people who make sure we get fed. Those grocery store workers, those supermarket workers, they get up every day, they go to work. It's a tough job. We need them, and they keep coming through for us. So first of all, anytime you go to the supermarket, you go to grocery, please say thank you to them because it's not easy for them or their families. We appreciate them. But also, remember, this is not what they expected. These are folks just trying to make a living for their families. They did not expect to be on the front lines of an international crisis. But they're acting with the same resolve and the same spirit as all our other heroes. Now, we have to protect them. So we've been working with the different companies, the supermarket companies and the grocery stores to make sure that their workers get the PPEs they need of one kind or another. There's all different kinds of PPEs. Different kinds are needed for different situations. We're working to make sure those supplies continue to get to those supermarket workers and grocery workers so they can be safe and confident. And finally, want to mention in this category, we're giving some new guidance today. And it's about when you go to the store, when you go shopping for food, what makes sense to do. So I'm giving the guidance to all supermarkets and groceries. Require customers to wear face coverings when they come in. Put up a sign at the entrance around the store, making clear that that's the right way to do things, and that's a requirement of your particular store. That is legal and appropriate. The city will back you up. This will help everyone to remember when they're in that kind of space, it's so important to protect each other, to protect the whole community. That face covering is a smart thing to do. Every store has the right to put up that guidance and make it a requirement in terms of entry into the store. And anybody who will not, any customer who says, no, I refuse, should not be allowed in. And again, we will back up those stores. We will help you to enforce the rules. You have a right to have those rules in place. It's the smart thing to do for the health of all New Yorkers, and the city of New York will back you up. We need to keep each other safe. We need to keep these grocery and supermarket workers safe so they can keep serving us. This is the smart thing to do. So that's the big picture. And I think you hear throughout that big picture our resolute commitment to feed all New Yorkers. And to make sure it happens, I turn to one of our most effective public servants. Time and again, she has delivered for New York City as our sanitation commissioner throughout all the challenges the city has faced, including the biggest blizzard in the history of New York City on her watch. And we came through, and thank you to all our sanitation workers. That was one of their finest hours, and right now is one of their finest hours now, keeping the city going, keeping it clean in the midst of this crisis. But her leadership there was outstanding. She did an amazing job addressing the lead issues and helping to create a plan to keep all of our children safe in a way that's unprecedented, and that's having a huge impact. Time and again, she's answered the call, and now she's doing it again as our food czar. My pleasure to introduce Commissioner Catherine Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is my pleasure to serve New Yorkers in this capacity. We are facing a difficult but important challenge right now, feeding New Yorkers and also maintaining our supply chain in a rapidly changing environment. And I really want to get right to the details. So as many of you know, we stood up the grab-and-go meals at the Department of Education. Over 3 million meals have been served at those schools, and they are now serving over 250,000 meals daily. I want to really say thank you for the folks at DOE who have stood this up. They've been amazing. But this is serving all New Yorkers, students, families, adults. We are also continuing to do senior meal deliveries. Over 300,000 meals have been delivered, and they are now serving 250,000 meals daily, serving seniors who were eating at Department for the Aging senior centers. As the mayor mentioned, we stood up the Get Food portal, and we are giving emergency food delivery to the most vulnerable New Yorkers. And this has been a great partnership with TLC and all of the TLC drivers who have made sure that they are showing up to get those deliveries done. And so it's boosting earnings, but it is also serving an absolutely critical purpose in terms of making sure that there are meals available for these populations. So we have delivered in the last 3 weeks, over 1 million meals to the most vulnerable, and we will continue serving 100,000 daily and growing. And our primary focus is on seniors, NYCHA, the medically fragile, and anyone else who is vulnerable. As the mayor mentioned, we are building an emergency food reserve. I want to make sure that New Yorkers are clear. Our supply chain is stable. I know that many of you have seen items on store shelves not there. The supply chain is adjusting to what we decided to buy that was very, very different than what we had ever bought before. And so it is rapidly adjusting to this new reality. So we are ramping up the food supply to make sure that we can take care of the most vulnerable. So we have $50 million invested, and we will be purchasing 18 million shelf-stable meals, which means that they will last, to protect New Yorkers from any temporary disruption. As I mentioned that we are taking steps to secure the food supply, it also is really critical that our essential grocery store workers are protected, coordinating their non-PPE to make sure that they had the protective equipment that they needed, making sure that we were issuing social guidelines and making sure that people are following them. And then today, talking about the fact that we really will support grocery stores who require their customers to wear a face covering. So again, I think that this is another group of unsung heroes. I will echo what the mayor said. They have been doing amazing work. We are also focused on the fact that we need to prevent store closures. One of the challenges that this industry is having, as are all of us, is that people have been sick or people have been afraid. And so we are connecting these grocery stores with our small business services to give them wraparound service and connect those who are newly unemployed with opportunities in this sector. So as the mayor also mentioned, we want to make sure we are supporting our first line of defense, which is the 800 plus food pantries and soup kitchens who have converted to takeaway. So we have put $25 million in, and this is $25 million that is meant to be more flexible than funding for these establishments has been in the past. This means that they can use it for staffing, they can use it for equipment, or they can use it for food. So we want to make sure that that is turned around very, very quickly. This was a partnership that we did with the City Council. I want to thank the Speaker for the work that he did advocating for this. But there also are large other parts of the puzzle that we are putting together. The Donate NYC app links small and large in-kind donations to pantries, and now we are seeing about 20,000 pounds move through that portal daily. We have moved city staff to support our pantries who are short on volunteers. Many were supported by volunteers who were older, and obviously they should isolate and stay at home. And we continue to recruit volunteers through city service. In the next phase of our emergency delivery program, we're going to concentrate on registering entire buildings, senior affordable housing buildings, senior NYCHA buildings, and other nonprofit buildings, because we know that that is where the most vulnerable will be. And also making sure that we are using a casework style with other social services to directly enroll New Yorkers, because it will give us an opportunity not only to make sure they're getting food, but making sure that we're addressing any other needs that they might have. So for those of you who might know, about 90% of all of New York City's food comes in by truck. We want to make sure we are supporting the long-haul truck drivers across the country who come here and are delivering our food. And we have stood up 2 rest areas, one in Staten Island and one in Hunts Point, to make sure that they can get the rest they need after their long-haul drive. We need to be partners, though. So federal food aid will be critical going forward. Having the amount of benefits that SNAP provides, which was formerly the food stamp program, to make sure that we're maximizing that benefit and getting that funding into people's hands. There also are 2 additional programs that are available. One is called PSNAP, Pandemic SNAP, and our state application is before the federal government. We look forward to having that approved, which will also put funding into families' hands. And then DSNAP, which is disaster food relief, which would require a federal declaration of disaster, but we know that our congressional delegation has been advocating for that. So we think that those will be key pieces of the puzzle as we move forward into the summer and the fall. We have a lot of work to do, but as the mayor said, we will not let any New Yorkers go hungry. We will not compound the tragedy of the pandemic with the tragedy of hunger. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Commissioner. And thank you for all you're doing and your team. This is the plan. Just want everyone to see it. It'll be available online today, nyc.gov. But this plan summarizes the ways we're going to make sure everyone gets the food they need. Now, this brings us to the bigger picture again, which is if we're going to make sure that we work our way back to something normal, it's going to take a lot of work, but we can do it. New Yorkers have proven what an impact you can make. And if we want to get people back to work, if we want to restart people's livelihoods, if we want people to have more and more money so they can afford food again, we have to get this part right. We have to get the social distancing right. We have to get the shelter in place right. We have to keep doing what we're doing. In fact, double down on it, tighten it up every way we can to keep ensuring that we get out of this current phase. So right now, again, we're in this widespread transmission of the coronavirus. None of us wants to stay in this reality. We got to work our way to the next reality, low-level transmission. And what we've said is back to these 3 key indicators. When we can get the 3 indicators that I'll talk about now to all go down in unison, all in the right direction together for 10 days to 14 days, that's when we'll be able to talk about some other changes we can make, hopefully a little bit of loosening of restrictions. But if we can't get them to go down together, it will tell us a lot. It'll tell us that we have to stay tough and also make sure in some cases that there are things we do even better. So let's keep talking every day about these numbers and what they mean. And we'll, again, always post them publicly so all New Yorkers can follow along together. So today we have a mixed bag. The first day, things were moving in the right direction. The second day, not so much. Today we have a mixed bag. And again, don't get discouraged because it's going to not be a perfect, clean line the way forward. There'll be good days and bad days. But we got to get to the point where we string together a bunch of good days so we can get to the next phase. Here's what we have today. First indicator, daily number of people admitted to hospitals are for suspected COVID-19 cases. And again, this is a 2-day lag in the data. So on April 12th, that number was 326. On April 13th, it went to 370. Unfortunately, that number went up. On the second indicator, daily number of people in ICUs across our public hospitals for suspected COVID-19 cases. Again, unfortunately, this number has gone up from 850 to 868. On the third category, the numbers have gone in the good direction. When it comes to testing positive for COVID-19, the percentage of people who tested positive, this went down. April 12th, 60%, April 13th, 53%. So that's a good sign. The Public Health Lab, the specific tests they do on some of the folks with the toughest conditions. April 12th, 84% went down. April 13th to 76%. That's going in the right direction. So mixed bag today. This will be a day-by-day fight. But the fact that we can show you every day that there are continue to be signs of progress, these indicators and others, is a testament to what all of you have done. And it's just a reminder, keep doing it. Don't let up on the gas. Hang tough with these standards, with these restrictions, with these approaches because they're working. Now, I talked about how New Yorkers were all helping ourselves and New Yorkers doing amazing things to create what we need to protect ourselves. And I thank everyone who's a part of those efforts. But I also want to always note when we get help from outside, and a lot of people care deeply about New York City and are stepping up. I mentioned Apple. I talked to the CEO, Tim Cook, again, and they've been amazing getting us the iPads we needed for distance learning for our kids. But Tim said they wanted to go farther and they wanted to help New York City directly with PPEs. And so not only did he say he'd get us what we needed, but he got it to us in 24 hours, which is deeply appreciated. 100,095 masks, 127,000 face shields. That's one of the items we needed the most this week, those face shields. So great effort by everyone at Apple. Thank you, Tim Cook. We really, really appreciate this donation to New York City. And I want to thank my predecessor, Michael Bloomberg. We're really appreciative that Bloomberg Philanthropies made a $6 million donation to World Central Kitchen, specifically to provide meals for our extraordinary healthcare workers in our public hospitals who have gone through so much, who have borne the brunt. Great donation to help make sure that our heroes have the food they need, and it also shows, real appreciation and support for them at the same time. So thanks, Mike. That really helps a lot. I'll wrap up, and then, of course, a few words in Spanish before we take questions from the media. But when you look at this plan, here's the bottom line. You look at this plan, one, I want all New Yorkers to recognize that Catherine and her team and all the folks who are doing this work at all the agencies, they are resolute. They are not giving up, and they've created a plan to feed people on a huge scale that few cities have ever attempted in history. This is something really powerful, and I commend them all. But it comes down to that basic promise. We are going to feed every New Yorker. We're not going to let anyone fall through the cracks. We have to do it. It's the right thing to do, and we will do it. Quick few words.
All right, so that was Mayor Bill de Blasio for the city of New York, pretty much laying out a plan on how to feed 8 million people in the city right now. And I'll move the mic a little bit up closer so you can hear me, like the health commissioner, I guess. Look, the bottom line right now is we are in different times that you never would expect. Let me see if I can move this a little bit closer. There we go. So look, the bottom line is you have to feed people. You can't let people go hungry in this situation. And I know that de Blasio made a good point. You shouldn't feel ashamed if you have to ask for food right now. All right? I know people lost their jobs, and even if the economy restarts, you're still going to have people who are going to have a tough time finding work. I'm in a situation again where, and people know this about me, I'm in a situation, let me see if I can center it. That's better. That's better. Okay. I'm in a situation where Osdom needs me to restart resident transport. Then I'll be ready. I get the phone call. My supervisor calls me and they say residents are now allowed off their floor. You can take them to the gift store or Beauty Power. We have an on-site Beauty Power in the building, or church, or bingo, or any other activity in the building. We're restarting that service. Are you ready? Are you ready to go through the blood test? Are you ready to go wear a face mask when you're in contact with any of the residents in the building? And I'll be ready for that. Just like how if Cancer Registry needs to start sending out mail, I'll do their mail work again. Then I'll be ready for that. And just like how, again, I still want to represent the riding public for Passengers United. Then yeah, I'll be ready to go back to Lower Manhattan. But not right now. Right now, you gotta feed people. You are going to have a lot of hungry people. Cannot let anybody go hungry under these circumstances. We are dealing with something You know, it's not the Great Depression. All right? The Great Depression was different. This is a disaster that we've never seen before. People can't go hungry. And I encourage any restaurants, you know, maybe do a free day to people who really need food. You know, become a pantry. You know, people who can't afford it right now, who don't have money. That's what this is intended for. So you gotta understand that right now. The bottom line is, and you heard de Blasio say this, you need to seek consistency with low-level transmission of coronavirus. If we see the low-level transmission, like China, like Italy, like Spain, for examples, then you can slowly reopen things. Because honestly, the one thing I want to see reopened is my barbershop right now. Look at me. I need a haircut. I need one. I'm that desperate for a haircut right now. I haven't gotten a haircut since February. I was supposed to get a haircut, believe it or not, I think 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to get a haircut. You know, if I didn't have this virus going around right now, being honest, you know what probably would happen? I probably wouldn't even be doing this right now. I probably would be packing up, heading back to New York tomorrow from Maryland. Because my cousin's bridal shower was this weekend. We know what happened, obviously. That's virtually done. I'm sorry if this is turning into a rant, but you all get the point. I was supposed to be going to 2 Broadway for my meeting on Monday with Larry Shorts. Nope, I have to do it virtually now. Supposed to be at 2 Broadway again. This was supposed to be my second week off from Northwell. Next week! Actually, no, my third week, because my original vacation was supposed to be from April 6th to about... Right, I told LIJ... I was supposed to tell LIJ this, the week of the virus. Yeah, I was supposed to return back to LIJ on April 27th. April 27th! Originally, that's what my plans were going to be. I was going to do what I wanted Monday and Tuesday. Do the 2 weeks at Osnum. Go on the 8th. Go on the 22nd. Today I was supposed to be enjoying my last day in Delmarva before I drove up to New York tomorrow. Get my mom to the bridal shower. And then get ready to go to 2 Broadway twice in 1 week. I might have even gone to Manhattan on Tuesday next week. Enjoy the extra day of vacation I had. Got all the money saved up. This is the reality I'm dealing with right now. All the plans I had from now until April were canceled. And now I have to worry about my family friend's sibling who passed. I didn't know her that well. I'm grieving with the friend right now. I've known her because I've known them since I was a kid, of course. They're friends, they're family friends, of course. And I have to worry about my friend's uncle. I don't know how that's going to end up. I'm grieving with the Queens Village Bus Depot because they lost an operator. So, this is what it's come down to now. Oh, and not to mention Governor Cuomo's brother, Chris. So trust me, this gives me a lot of worry. This gives me a lot of... I don't feel sadness. I just feel angry. Is the way I feel. You know, it's not... I'm not irate because, there are situations where I've been irate in the past because there are situations that could have been better handled. But this is a situation that you can't handle, better or worse. It's one of those rare things. And I'm saying why it's rare that you can't handle it the way you want to. It's because you don't know what will happen. You don't know what will come next. You don't know what the next chapter will be. You don't know what part of the story comes next. That's what happened with Spanish flu in 1918. You didn't know what was going to happen next. You didn't know it was going to last 2 years. Now they're saying that this could last 2 years. You know how bad it will be in 2 years? I could lose residents who I've known in Osnum, that I've known since 2015. That's how sad it could be. All the time I have with my residents could be gone. All because of this virus. Now, LIJ is a different story. Fine. We don't have any surgeries. I understand that. That's a whole different story. I'm not worried about that right now. What I'm worried about is, again, the residents in my nursing home. It's a very, very complex situation we're dealing with. So let me just check the comments. Okay, no comments. So, what I may do today, under the circumstances, I am thinking of recording Governor Cuomo. I've already streamed de Blasio today. So if nobody's here, I'm just going to get off the air and just, I guess, record everything. I have my Elgato here, I guess. I might as well just better off using that for the sound quality. So, yeah, I guess covering de Blasio is better than nothing at this point. Alright. So, we'll wrap this up. Thank you all for watching. This has been a special report from Andy's Randomness.
This has been an Andy's Randomness special report.